It's December 9th, 2019. A young man from Canada mysteriously dies in a cheap hospital bed in India and takes $190 million with him. But not everyone believes he's really dead. Days before his death, Gerald Cotten signed a will handing over everything to his wife. Then Quadriga staff discovered no one, not even his closest team, had the passwords to the crypto exchange's wallets. The money was gone, locked forever. That's when the rumors started. Maybe the crypto king of Canada didn't die. Maybe he disappeared with the fortune. In the mid-2010s, while the world was still trying to figure out what Bitcoin even was, a young Canadian named Gerald Cotten saw the future, and it looked digital. He was charismatic, softly spoken, and obsessed with technology. Friends said he was always smiling, always polite, the kind of guy who could charm investors with ease.
So, Gerald.
Yes.
You were born, now you're here. What happened in between?
He was a really bright guy. He was really funny.
Cotten co-founded Quadriga CX in 2013, a small cryptocurrency exchange run out of Vancouver. At a time when Bitcoin was trading for just a few $100s, Quadriga made it easy for Canadians to buy, sell, and trade crypto without the complicated steps most platforms demanded. Within just a few years, Quadriga had exploded in popularity. By 2017, it was handling billions in trades, becoming Canada's largest crypto exchange. Investors loved the simplicity. The government had barely begun regulating crypto, so there was little oversight. To most people, Gerald Cotten looked like a pioneer, a friendly face in a shady new market. But behind that friendly face was a system held together by one man. Unlike most financial institutions, Quadriga CX had no real team managing the funds. There were no compliance officers, no external audits, and shockingly, no backups to the cold wallets that stored customers' money offline. According to the Ontario Securities Commission, Cotten alone controlled the private keys, the passwords to those wallets. It meant he could move or hide funds at will, and no one else could even check. Still, to his customers, he was the guy who answered support emails at 2 a.m. He appeared on podcasts, hosted meetups, and reassured everyone that their money was safe. What nobody knew then was that this single point of trust would become the single point of failure. It was December 2018. Gerald Cotten and his new wife, Jennifer Robertson, had just married months earlier. They planned a honeymoon to India, a trip for charity and rest. But soon after arriving in Jaipur, Cotten fell ill. According to hospital records later obtained by Canadian media, he checked into Fortis Hospital on December 8th with symptoms of Crohn's disease, an illness he'd battled for years. Within 24 hours, he went into cardiac arrest. Doctors declared him dead on December 9th, 2018. The cause was listed as complications from Crohn's disease. He was only 30 years old.
Yeah, this is a real mystery that's unfolding this morning, and it all has to do with the death of the CEO in India. Here he is Gerald Cotten. He's the founder of Quadriga CX.
News of his death reached Canada weeks later, and that's when the questions began. His wife returned home carrying his laptop, his phone, and a death certificate. But when Quadriga staff tried to access the exchange's wallets, they realized something terrifying. No one else had the passwords. Every account, every Bitcoin, every Ethereum token, locked. Court filings later showed that the cold wallets, which were supposed to hold over $190 million, were completely inaccessible. Even cybersecurity experts described the setup as virtually unbreakable. Without Cotten's passwords, the digital vault was sealed forever. Investors started to panic. And then came the detail that made everyone's eyebrows shoot up. Cotten had signed his will just 12 days before he died, leaving everything, his properties, plane, yacht, and millions in assets to his new wife.
I would have never, ever stolen from other people. And the fact that he did what he did, I carry his shame with me.
No autopsy was performed. His body was reportedly embalmed and cremated within days. To some, it was a tragic coincidence, a young man dying abroad. But to others, it was the perfect exit plan. Back in Canada, thousands of investors waited for answers. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered something even darker than missing passwords. In January 2019, Quadriga filed for creditor protection in Nova Scotia, admitting that it owed its customers about roughly $190 million belonging to over 76,000 users. The court appointed accounting giants Ernst & Young as an independent monitor to investigate the company's finances. What EY found next shocked everyone. When forensic analysts followed the blockchain trail tracing every transaction ever made from Quadriga's supposed cold wallets, they realized something that didn't add up. The cold wallets Cotton claimed to be using were empty. There hadn't been any deposits or withdrawals in months. In fact, most of the wallets had been drained long before Cotton's trip to India. So where had the money gone? Reports suggested that Cotton had been moving customer funds to other exchanges, sometimes in his own name. Some crypto had even been used for margin trading, high-risk bets that often lost money. The OSC later confirmed it. Cotton was operating a massive Ponzi-like scheme inside his own company. He used new deposits to pay off earlier withdrawals, just enough to keep customers believing their money was still there. And all of it was hidden behind the illusion of security. Investigators even found that Cotton had created fake trading accounts under aliases like Chris Marquet, using them to fabricate trades and manipulate prices on his own exchange. It was all a fraud. But this wasn't even the biggest deception, because what came next would blur the line between death and disappearance. As investigators pieced together the company's history, the questions around Cotton's death only grew louder. The first red flag: timing. Cotton had updated and signed his will just 12 days before he died, leaving nearly everything to his new wife, including a private plane, real estate holdings, and luxury vehicles. The second, lack of verification. The death certificate issued in India had several inconsistencies. Some media outlets pointed out that his name was misspelled, and the document wasn't notarized in Canada. Then came the biggest concern. There had been no independent autopsy. His body was reportedly embalmed and cremated within days. For victims who had lost their life savings, these details were enough to spark a storm of conspiracy theories. Some believed Cotton had faked his own death, disappearing to live off the stolen funds. Others thought he'd been murdered by partners or criminals he'd crossed. And a few believed he'd simply died, leaving behind a tangled web of lies no one could ever fully unravel. The Ontario Securities Commission, after an exhaustive review, concluded in 2020 that Quadriga was a fraud committed by Gerald Cotton. They estimated that he had misappropriated at least $169 million, running his exchange like a personal piggy bank, spending investor funds on speculative trades, travel, and luxury assets. According to the OSC, the collapse of Quadriga wasn't caused by an unfortunate death. It was the result of years of deception and recklessness. Meanwhile, Cotton's widow, Jennifer Robertson, cooperated with investigators and agreed to forfeit most of the estate's assets, including real estate and vehicles, in a settlement to repay victims. She maintained she had no involvement in his business practices. But even after the legal dust settled, the mystery refused to die. In 2019, a group of investors formally requested that Cotton's body be exhumed to confirm his death, a request that made global headlines. To this day, Canadian authorities have not ordered the exhumation. His official cause of death remains complications from Crohn's disease. Whether he died in India or disappeared under a new name, one fact remains: the money was gone. Ernst & Young recovered only a fraction, less than $37 million, from scattered crypto accounts. The rest, over $142 million, vanished into the blockchain. The truth is, any fool can steal money. The hard part is getting away with it. And Gerald Cotton had the perfect setup. Canada's regulators didn't even know how to handle crypto yet. That gave him years to run Quadriga CX with zero oversight. Alongside his partner, Michael Petrine, a convicted fraudster, he handled millions with no checks or balances. When Petrine left, Gerald stayed behind, completely in control. He knew what was coming. Every failed Ponzi ends the same way: prison, a bullet, or a clean escape. And Gerald had time to plan. In 2018, he signed a will, married Jennifer Robertson, and jetted off to Jaipur, India, the world's second largest hub for fake death certificates. There, he died of Crohn's disease. No Canadian doctor confirmed it, no DNA match, just a closed casket and a death certificate from India. Even the embalming was suspicious, done by college students with no experience. The paperwork was loose. The death certificate came from India's notoriously corrupt registry system. And no one, not one qualified authority, ever confirmed that the body inside that box was Gerald Cotton. Jennifer wasn't even in the room when he supposedly died. She was sent to get his laptop. And if you think this is all just conspiracy, here's what happened next. Years after his death, funds from Quadriga's cold wallets only Gerald had access to, suddenly moved. And the timing? The same week the world was fixated on another major crypto collapse, FTX. It was the perfect distraction. So ask yourself, if only Gerald had those keys and the wallet suddenly came alive years later, then who moved the money? Is Gerald Cotten really dead? Or did the crypto king fake his death and walk away with $190 million?